And I really want to make this an existential expression because I'm sitting here drinking my beet carrot cocoa that I made yesterday. Yes, you heard me correctly, beet carrot cocoa. And I'm just thinking about how to talk to people who are interested in understanding existence, trying to talk to them about the nature of religion and spiritual expression. So there is a pastor in St. Louis that I have had acquaintance with in the past. Because of my break from Christianity, he's not interested in, you know, anything that I am doing at this point. And he put together a series of lessons on the authenticity of the Christmas celebration. And so, we if we grow up in Christianity, for the most part, you are going to get simply these heavy, loaded perspectives against pagan or other religious expressions that are different than Christianity. If you go to a class on Islam, you're sitting there as the student. The teacher is telling you things that you haven't researched yourself. So then you have to depend upon that instruction as the valid and verified truth that you're receiving. So, you can imagine, this year in church Sunday school, we're going to start going through all the various religions of the world and looking at you're going to get a heavily biased presentation of that information because even the teacher is simply regurgitating unless he's a scholar, unless he is doing the work himself, pursuing this knowledge. You know what I mean? So if we grow up in Christianity the way that I did, I remember, hearing about those baddies out there, the Catholics and the Jewish faith and the Muslim faith and the Hindu faith, and all of those things are not the true faith. So they're not the true faith, and the reasons why they are not the true faith are simply taken for granted by people like me as a kid, 8 years old, and then in high school, and then in college and seminary. Okay, so we have this celebration that happens December 25th, right? And peeling back the onion of the wheres and the whys and the hows and the whens and all of the reasons why we do what we do, right? So Christmas is a human construct of celebration and remembrance, right? But Christmas isn't as a tradition in the Bible. The Bible doesn't tell you thou shalt on this day like it does in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, they are regulated by the lunar calendar. And so the new moon is a regulatory celestial marker for Israel's, again, in the Bible's story, Israel is regulated by the heavens. And the word that is translated festivals or celebrations, after Israel exists
and God is giving them the directions for His requirement for their annual, perpetual celebrations. When He gives them their rules of when to do this, like you don't celebrate Christmas in July, you don't celebrate Passover in January, right? Why not? Well, there are historical markers where you have events in Israel's history where they celebrate what God has done for them.
All right.
Okay? This is editing travel because I don't think I ever finished my thought on what I was trying to say in terms of the language of festival and the regulation of Israel's celebrations of their historical experiences of redemption where God stepped in and saved them. When God wants them to memorialize those events in an annual, repetitious, ritualistic training through the calendar, right? The liturgy is the work that the person does. The Bible doesn't. Here, I'm off on a different tangent now. The Bible doesn't. The Bible is not a manual where it gives you step by steps of do this, don't do this. It tells you stories of do this, don't do this, and you have to read the stories and internalize the message. And again, even the way that I'm talking about, I think, the way that I'm talking about this interpretation of how to interpret the Bible, man, lost that train of thought. Boom, it's gone. Okay, so festivals, the language, the word, right? So if you look in the book of Leviticus and you see the word festival in English, okay? And then you go to the first chapter of Genesis, where we learn allegedly about the creation of the entire universe. The creation of the sun, moon, and the stars on day 4, we are told that the sign that the sun, the moon, and the stars are given for to be signs. They are given for times and they are given for seasons. The word isn't seasons, it's the same word for festival. Okay? And this is a beef that I have as a former Bible enthusiast, as a Christian. I got very frustrated very quickly when I was learning about translation that we don't keep a uniform translation of words for an inexplicable reason. I mean, I don't know why. Anyway, it's so complex. Okay, so my point was, in bringing up this whole thing that's on the original video, when I brought up the term festival, I wanted to bring out this point that in the Bible's story, the sun and the moon and the stars are a part of the celebration of the memorialization of events in history. And those celebrations are called festivals. And those sun, the moon, and the stars are given to regulate festivals. We are a celebratory trying to think of different words than species and race. Awarenesses, consciousnesses. Ritual is built into our existence in the very display of the original streaming service called the Celestial Dome or the Celestial Sphere.